views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready? The Cornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Cornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. I'm with Dennis Gaither. Hi, Dennis.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So, Dennis, we are again talking about Hakomi today, and I just want to tell the listeners a little bit about, if they're tuning in today for the first time, Hakomi is a way of being with another that is, in essence, mindfulness-based assisted self-study. It's experiential, focused on the present, and makes use of reactions evoked by little experiments with a person in a mindful state as a way of discovering how we organize our experience and to release limiting beliefs about ourselves. Underlining and supporting this process is the practice of loving presence created by focusing on those qualities of the other that inspire and nourishes us. And I love this, learning about Hakomi and the loving presence and the words that are used and the experiential practices that are used so that we can be present with each other and also nourish each other.
Cool. Thank you. It's been a delight to share this with you, Cornelia. You have such enthusiasm for it. And that always warms my heart, and giving me an opportunity to share it and get the word out with other people as well.
Yeah, and people, if the listeners didn't see our last video, you can find it on my YouTube channel, Cornelia Stephanie YouTube, and you can look at the little experiment that Dennis and I did last show, and you'll see it in the subject line. It says Hakomi, because people really enjoyed watching that and listening to and watching us interact and giving a demonstration. But I'm sure we're going to do a little bit of that again. Maybe we'll do some of that again today.
We'll have fun.
We'll have fun. So give us a recap, what is an experience like? What is a Hakomi session like? Okay,
happy to do that. So first of all, loving presence is really the grounding. And what loving presence is, if I'm being with you in completely present, but specifically attuned into something that about you, the other person, that inspires, that nourishes me, and that becomes the groundwork from which everything else follows. So that's the grounding. But the other things that are really important elements, one is a really close moment-to-moment attunement. There's connection, there's attunement that is happening instantly in the moment that creates a sense of safety. And it actually is a healing experience because most of us haven't had as much of that as we perhaps needed as we were growing up. And it actually has, over time, it can have actually positive effects in terms of how our brains are wired. We can develop a more secure kind of attachment. But there's some other things that are really unique as well. And one is that what we're really attuning with, focusing with, is the person telling the story. We call this the storyteller. Mm-hmm. In any conversation, there's a person having something to say. Like right now in this instant, I'm saying something and you're listening, and other times it's the other way. But there's a storyteller, me in this moment, and a listener, you in this moment. And And most of the time in most conversations where the conscious attention and awareness goes is on the story. It's the third entity, and there is the story itself. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but when all of our conscious awareness is on that, then we miss another part of the communication, because there's a direct communication between the storyteller and the listener. And that's instant. The story itself is always going to be about the past. Even if it's from something that happened 30 seconds ago, it's still about the past. Or even if I'm talking about some anticipated future, that's still constructed from past experiences. But what's happening directly right now is instantaneous. And it's communicated non-verbally. And most of the time that happens outside of conscious awareness. But practice that we have in Hakomi is actually to really pay attention to that and make it more conscious. And it begins with, as the person's listening, really tuning in and paying attention to the storyteller. But in doing that, we start to paying attention to ourselves as we're speaking. There was something that Ron Kurtz, I have to really honor Ron Kurtz, who was my teacher, and there was something he said. This is one of my 1,000 favorite things that he said. It's in that list somewhere. There were so many. But one of them he said is that what the adaptive unconscious needs, in other words, what we need for that part of us that organizes our experience to feel safe, what it needs to feel safe, two things. It needs to feel loved, loving presence, and it also needs to feel gotten. I'm not likely to unburden myself or show my tender side if I don't feel like the other person cares about me, but also I have to feel like they get me.
That's so huge.
Yeah. And so besides the tracking and the loving presence, we have ways of communicating.
Yeah.
That we're tracking, that we're following.
Yeah. This is something that is my personal belief system too, that all beings really want to get gotten. I say
absolutely
that
we want to get gotten.
All beings want to get gotten. And I also I love the piece about love and offering our loving presence, our consciousness to the present moment, whatever it is. And that's where
yeah.
really happen, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll just mention just real briefly a couple of ways we communicate that we're following. And one of those we call acknowledgments. And those are just little short statements kind of woven into natural pauses in the conversation that just kind of communicate, I get it. Like, I can see how excited you are about this. I can see how interested you are. I can see how sad you are right now. I can see how hard this is for you to talk about. These are just little statements that are communicating. I'm kind of tracking where you are, you being hypothetical, others. Yeah. And they're focused on the storyteller, not the story so much. They're not comments on the story, but it's about the storyteller. Those aren't too far out of normal conversation. But the other that we use are contact statements. And contact statements are just little 1 or 2 word statements that are just woven into the conversation. You just kind of name some little sadness, huh? Some excitement there. Some relief, huh? And those are a little bit more subtle, but also very powerful, because the session tends to deepen as the person feels gotten. And in our level 2 trainings, we spend a lot of time practicing the art of contact statements, because they're not really questions. Questions tend to pull us into our head to think of the answer. And they're not definitive statements either, because it's more like offerings. It's like an offering. No, that's not it. Okay, let it go. So those are some of the ingredients that kind of go into the work that we do.
Yeah, I love these. This form of communication. Actually, a lot of the work that I do, with clients, I didn't know it was called Hakomi, but having presence to another human being.
Yeah.
Are revealing their past, or they're healing from something in their past, right? Is really is Hakomi.
Well, yeah, it is. We can, or Hakomi is that, whatever way you want to put it. But yeah, you're a natural, loving presence. I've known that about you for a while in our conversations, and even doing this right now. So
yeah, and you know what I love? What else I love about it, Dennis, is like a lot of times it's really practicing the art of listening. Practicing the art of listening, and listening is communication, right? Listening is communication. So, because a lot of times, what people do, because they're preoccupied with so many things, they're not really listening to the person, because they're thinking in their mind how they're going to respond or how they're going to reply to what is being said. Right? Instead of really like completely bringing 100% presence into this communication, being 100% present, not thinking at all about how I'm going to reply or what I'm going to say about it, but just being fully here.
That's so important. That's so important, Cornelia. Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, and this is how we're nourishing each other, and this is how we're, offering healing. Even if you're doing this practice on your own, like, being with yourself, this is a wonderful practice, is to listen to yourself through your journal and having compassion and having, being a witness to yourself, to whatever is up for you in the present moment, and listening.
Yep, it does. One of the joys of doing this work is actually you do learn to be a loving presence with yourself, and and sometimes that's difficult, and then it's useful to have another person being in loving presence with us. So they're both the willingness to receive that, but also to provide it myself.
Yeah. I really believe that, there's a lot of work we can do on our own, really, journaling and, healing and doing this kind of work. And then there is other work where we really need the witnessing, the
absolutely we do.
Someone else, right? So it just depends, and it's really all okay.
Totally.
It's totally all okay to have a witness and to have a person, a facilitator, a coach or a counselor, someone that is holding that loving presence for you while you are unveiling yourself. Right?
Yeah. Certainly, I think all of us, certainly my own experiences, I'm willing to go a lot deeper with a witness, and it tends to stick better. I can have thoughts going through my mind pretty quickly, but if there's a witness, it tends to nail it down. I find that for myself and for others as well.
Yeah. Because the healing is not just taking place, for the person that is sharing, it's taking also place for the person that is witnessing. So there's so much happening. So it's amazing what is being healed with our love and our love.
Yeah, there's a healer inside of us that if we can get ourselves out of the way, it carries things. And it can, certainly if we're being a healing presence to assist someone, certainly that can guide our intuition and how best to be helpful. But it also tends to guide whatever needs to come up and have its life in that moment.
Yeah. And this is one part that I really love. I'm so glad we're talking about Hakomi now and really bringing this energy out so that many people that are just now, maybe they're hearing this for the first time, but that they can possibly, discover this is exactly what they needed to hear. And that, maybe Hakomi practice is something that they want to learn further about. So we're going to take a break on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back with Dennis Gaither and Hakomi.
Thank you.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information. Are you ready to embrace your essence and the magic of who you are? Let me, Emily Perkins, hold your hand and walk with you as we go treasure hunting for the gold that lies within you. Tune in to Love Living Radio every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit lovelivingHolistics.com.
The Knowledge Book, currently studied in 39 countries and 15 languages around the world, accelerates our evolution, takes us out of depression, offers universal truth, protects us, and makes us stronger, both spiritually and physically. So if you are interested in the Knowledge Book, visit usa.theknowledgebook.net and tune in to the Knowledge Book Radio with Marge Potasic on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
If you're dealing with fear and anxiety, you've probably noticed that the more you fight these emotions, the stronger they seem to get. Dr. Friedemann Schaub, the author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution, explains that instead of suppressing, we need to identify and resolve the deeper subconscious root causes of fear and anxiety. His personal breakthrough program has helped thousands worldwide to overcome their emotional challenges. To learn more, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com and schedule your free consultation with Dr. Schaub now.
Healing has a ripple effect. One person's healing affects everyone around them. This is where the power of sharing our stories can be so important. Tune in to Playing on the Edge Radio with Megan Edge each month on Transformation Talk Radio, as Megan provides you with ways of sustaining radical and powerful changes in your life. Enact the power of radical change. To find out more about Megan Edge, visit her website at meganedge.ca.
Tune in to The Astral Insider, your portal for adventure, insight, and growth with Fernando Albert. And get ready to tour the astral realm, expand your life in ways you've never imagined, and call in for the journey of your life with this world-renowned lucid dreamer, astral projectionist, psychic medium, and healer, Fernando Albert. This is every second and fourth Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
We are back living heaven on earth with Dennis Gaither on the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We're talking about Hakomi, and now we want to find out how does a session unfold? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. And so, basically, it just starts with settling in, and I just listen in loving presence. And the other I'm going to use you for the other person, not necessarily specifically you, but just the other person. So then you can just begin talking about whatever you want to talk about. And I'm just attending to not only what you're saying, but I'm just noticing whatever little nuances, gestures, ways of speaking, little bits of emotion or feelings that might be there. I might offer those little acknowledgments or contact statements that we talked about a few minutes ago once in a while. And I'm starting to just sort of get maybe little intuitions about maybe experiments that we might do, or what might be, if there's a challenge that the person is dealing with, that maybe there's not only the situation right now, but maybe there's a backstory that's being brought into the situation that is that's feeding into it and creating some of the unnecessary suffering associated with it, which is really what we're about here, is relieving the unnecessary suffering. And then there may be some times when I might invite you, the other person, to do an experiment. So one of the things when I start to get some idea or little intuitions, or we call them hypotheses, a couple of things we don't do. We don't like to get into intellectual analysis. Don't like to get into making interpretations, because, I don't know what it might be. It might be quite surprising. We do experiments, and these are experiments in mindfulness. And let's just pretend for a moment that I suggest that we might want to do an experiment. And how we might do that is I just invite you to just become really mindful and just noticing thoughts, feelings, memories, images that might be coming up as they occur in the present. And there may be other times when I might notice gestures, or ways of speaking. We call those indicators. And the experiment is always intended, something that's always intended to be nourishing or to invite a sense of curiosity. We don't do trial runs of something that we know is going to be oppressive or unpleasant. It's always something that's potentially nourishing. Mm. And then we just notice what comes up in response. What comes up in response to doing the experiment. Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of a background. So I think we talked about maybe doing something here. So let's just talk about, out of the vast range of experiments, we can talk about maybe a specific kind of experiment that we would do. And so one of the things that we're looking for is there's something that the person's wanting to experience that they're not able to because of how they've learned to organize their experience around old core beliefs, core experiences that they're not able to organize. They're not able to allow themselves to have fully. And so the way we might study that is to invite them just to get, first of all, what I always ask, it's always with permission, the principle of nonviolence. If they already know what an experiment is, just like, we could do a little experiment about that. And they're usually quite eager if they've had some experience. And if they don't yet, then there's a little more background about what mindfulness is. But I might invite a person just to get really mindful and offer the experience as a verbal offering. It's symbolically offering the experience, and then we pay attention to what comes up. And typically it's three kinds of things. One is nothing comes up. Nothing happened. Okay, well, it just means my hypothesis was wrong. We just let that go. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it will go in and the person takes it in as nourishment. And it's like, okay, that's good. What felt good about that? The third possibility is if it's something that I think they might have had trouble taking in, like maybe a sense of safety or being welcome, then there might be something that comes up in reaction to that. And we work with that in a little different way, but maybe we could play with this idea of doing an experiment first here. We could do kind of an experiment like that one.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Cool. So we can do a little kind of a fairly generic sort of verbal offering here, and then so I'm just going to just invite you just to become really mindful. That just means noticing thoughts, feelings, body, just kind of being open to whatever comes up, and with a kind of a sense of curiosity. I wonder if it'll come up here, and it's okay if it's nothing. It's okay if it's something. It's all fine. Can be either eyes open or eyes closed, whichever feels more comfortable. And so maybe just take a few breaths and kind of settle in a little bit and just really getting connected with your inner life a little bit. And when you're ready, you can just give me a nod. Okay, so just notice what happens when you hear me say, Cornelia, it's okay to feel fully seen. It's okay to feel fully seen. What comes up?
What came up is, oh, great.
Okay, so we would say that went in.
That went in.
That went in. That went in. Really touched you in really kind of a deep, tender way, huh?
It did. It is an affirmation of truth.
Yeah.
It's an affirmation of divine truth.
Yeah. And
what makes me so joyous about that is that it wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a little celebration going on here too.
There's a celebration going on. Is that my automatic response from the subconscious now is responding by going, great, It's yes.
Yes. Okay. So there might have been a time in the past when something came up that said, wait a minute, oh, don't know that. But if something like that did come up for someone, not for you here in this example, I wouldn't try to talk, you don't try to talk the person out of it. It's kind of like, this is an important part of how we organize our experience here, how the person organizes their experience. And I'll tell you what of mine that actually touched me at one point was early in my Hakomi life here was the one that's called "You're Welcome Here." When I first heard that, there was a mixture of profound. It was like forget the Kleenex, where's the mop bucket kind of thing. But there was a little part of me that's a little skeptical. I don't know about that, and so those kind of things. So what we would do then is we invite, with the person's permission, if it would be okay to have someone else take that inner voice over, the one that says no or in some way. And the example of "You're welcome here," that little voice that says no way. And so it's kind of like, it's honoring the protective system there, but it's also like the person doesn't have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And so what often happens is you get down to the next layer. You get to the next layer, and and so in my case, when I was the person experiencing this, I fairly quickly got back to being 4 years old and not being allowed to play on the baseball team for the obvious reason that I didn't know anything about it. and when they put me on second base, I was staring at the ground, looking at bugs and things. But my little 4-year-old brain kind of created a belief around not being welcome. And that's what we do as little children. We may create a belief about ourselves that really doesn't really apply anymore. It might have been a distorted interpretation back then too. And by simply just honoring the protective system that we have, letting somebody take it over, we might go through several layers, but we'll often get to some kind of core experience like that one. And then it's sort of like there's a corrective kind of experience we can have of just letting this little 4-year-old, in this case, feel welcomed. There's different ways of creating a missing experience. And but also looking at the belief, does that really apply anymore? What did this little Dennis decide when he was 4 years old? So basically that's kind of like a little bit of how we do experiments.
Yeah.
And there are other kinds of experiments too. We do a full year training. We go. There's a lot of different kind of experiments we can do, but that's a really basic one. But they're always done in a very respectful kind of way, and it's still a genuine curiosity. It's not with an agenda to prove a point. It's to help a person in their exploration of how they organize their experience.
Beautiful.
And that's what we do. So
it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. If you would have asked me last week at this time, Friday, I was getting ready to go do a Facebook Live, and the topic that morning was how to love yourself through anything. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to come on because at that time I felt really withdrawn and inward. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to be seen. Yeah. I didn't want to come out. And so wherever that was up for me last week, I did not want to come out. I didn't want to be seen. And I spoke about it openly, that I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk about this.
And you really let yourself be seen in that part.
I said, I really don't want to be here. This is really uncomfortable for me. And I'm loving myself right now. I'm totally loving myself through this. And I'm being vulnerable. So, right, is because we really have to be vulnerable and letting go of all of those places within ourselves that we weren't seen before, where we weren't honored.
Yeah.
And allowing that to happen now, right?
Right. Or often we have a shyness about being seen because we weren't being seen in a very kind way. Or at least we didn't experience ourselves being seen. It might have been a more of a scrutinizing or judgmental or critical way. And so we have protectors that kind of say, I don't want to be seen that way, so I'm not going to let myself be seen. And so that idea of not letting oneself be seen is kind of, it's protecting something very tender inside of us.
Yeah. You know, what has been a big limiting belief for me over the years, I'm taking up too much space. I'm taking up too much space. Because again, the belief that I should be, I should hurry up and say what it is that I need to say. This is how I was trained, right? So children should be, I shouldn't take up that much space.
Right.
That was the belief. So having overcome that it's okay to take up this space.
Right.
Right.
Let's do it. Well, let's just maybe make that as a hypothetical here. So, because it's a really common one. I don't deserve the space I take up here.
Okay.
Even if I may have another one that says I take up too much. But so the experience that, because I have a part like that too, the experience that I wouldn't let myself be having is just to feel like there's plenty of space for me. So if you were my Hakomi therapist, you could offer that in the same way we just did. Dennis, there's plenty of space for you. And see what comes up. And, it might go in and feel really good, maybe nothing, or maybe there'll be something that will come up. No, there's not, or some little voice, and we can take that over, and maybe we can kind of come down to often what will lead to is some early life experiences in which kind of a sense of there's not enough space for me, maybe I'm not important enough, can kind of come up. We haven't said much about what we do with that.
Right.
When it does come up, because it's not just about getting there, but we're actually working. When we're working with a memory, we kind of said Hakomi is a present moment kind of practice, and yet here is a memory of something that happened long ago, and what we're working with is not the past. We're working with a memory that someone is having now. It's memory as present moment experience, even though the subject matter may be about the past. It's not treated as some literal, not necessarily literally exactly like that, because human memory actually is very malleable. But what we're actually really after are the patterns and the beliefs that got set in place there that are still acting. And there's a couple of parts to that. There are many parts to it, actually. But the two main ones, there's an emotional part. And that really depends a lot on what's happening right now as the person's experiencing the memory. Maybe in the earlier time, they had to deal with a situation alone, but now there's somebody with them. And so there's kind of like a corrective emotional experience that's there.
Yeah.
And when we take that kind of memory back in, it gets reconsolidated along with what happened just now, so that it kind of gets reworked emotionally a little bit.
Yeah.
So but there's also a cognitive part of what's the belief that got laid down back there that now I'm operating under, and it's not likely that a 3 or a 4 or a 5-year-old consciously sat down and decided I'm not welcome here, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not safe anywhere.
Right.
It's not likely that they would have done that, but they would have just set a pattern of responding to the world that would be as if that belief was true. And so part of just kind of putting words to it, oh, that's what that 4-year-old decided back then. Okay. Not that he consciously did, but it's kind of as if that belief came into being then. And it's at that level we can start to change our mind. And it's in a combination of working with that kind of child state of consciousness. You can tell the adult dentist if we haven't worked on that early experience as many times as you want to, you're welcome here, but there's still a 4-year-old that doesn't believe it. But if the 4-year-old's consciousness is here, then we can actually do some healing, do some change. And that's where the transformation comes in. It's both what was the meaning the child gave to it, but there's also something about, is there something in the experience that was lacking then that could be maybe provided even in a symbolic way now. And in Hakomi sessions, we do that in some very creative ways. We might get several people up and play a game and invite the person to join, or people can stand guard and provide a sense of safety, or there's so many. It's very creative. It's actually kind of fun to do that. So there's both an experiential. So it's not just a mind thing or a cognitive thing. There's an emotional experiential part, or maybe it's just being held by accompanying presence for as long as you want to be held. Or there's many variations on that. So both those parts are important, and I think it's important to include both. And I think not all modalities necessarily include both. Some can be a little bit too cognitively oriented, and some maybe can be the emotional expressive part's important, but so is the going for meaning part.
Yeah, what really is brilliant is the experience of changing the belief, the negative limiting belief of there's not enough space here for you. That was the subconscious belief that the being, the person, has acted out upon their life. They felt that belief was true. And now through Hakomi, what's happening is a new belief so the old one is being taken out and a new belief is being installed through a new experience by you saying, yes, Cornelia, there's plenty of space here for you. Yeah. And we're actually having this play out. And now that is the new belief.
Well, actually, let me explain that just a little bit more.
Yeah.
If I were using that example, when I use the statement, there's plenty of space here for you, I'm actually not trying to put that in as a new belief. I'm offering that as a possibility and seeing what comes up.
Okay.
Ron Kurtz used to call those probes. We call them offerings in the Seattle Hakomi. To see what comes up, and as the person kind of gets in touch with what the core beliefs might be, they tend to come up with their own reworking there. We kind of support them in that.
Okay, that's great.
And so that and it might be exactly that. But now I can take in that idea. There's plenty of space for me, but it's not that I'm trying to reprogram them with a new belief.
Okay, that's really a good distinction, because what you're doing, it's an offering for something else to approach. Offering, and they get to decide what their new belief is going to be based on whatever is coming up for them.
Yeah, as we release something that's been there, then we could kind of decide what would be the new thing that we would like to take in.
Yeah.
And it might be very much related to that original offering. And sometimes we'll kind of redo the offering and see how it goes in now. But it's not with an agenda. That would, if I really had this idea, I got this idea what the belief you should have and try to manipulate them into accepting it, we would consider that an act of violence in this work.
Wow, that's powerful.
And nonviolence is one of our principles.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, and the belief that there's space here for you isn't a bad belief to have.
Oh my goodness, no, it's not. Or feeling welcome, or feeling like it's okay to be fully seen.
Yeah,
those are all good things.
But still, yet again, you guys, like you said, you have a protocol and you have principles that you're following, and that the intention has to be clear that it's not going in to reprogram anyone, that they get to decide for themselves.
No, it's assisted self-study. But what makes it work is that everyone has inside themselves, there's something, we call it the organicity principle in Hakomi. There's a healer. I tend to personify it. There's a healer inside everybody. Yeah. You can take that as literal or just as a metaphor, whatever you want. But there is something that knows there's something that calls us to be more whole and to be more healed. And this work is really about not deciding where that should go, but aligning with it.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any other experiences for us, or little something that we can practice before we take our next break?
Oh, let's see how much time we have. Just a minute or two. I'll give you.
We have a little while.
Okay, cool. Well, I can tell you an experience of my own here, and this was in the early days of working with Hakomi. In fact, it was still in a training. It was in Mexico with Ron Kurtz when he was still living, and I was working with someone, and there was an awareness that there was something that was kind of tight in the back of my shoulder. And there are a couple different ways we could have approached that. One would be what we call a tension sequence. But the way we did in this particular time was a little different than that, was had someone take over the tension. Okay. So in the way that's done, I'm laying on the floor. And if I were to exaggerate that movement, it would seem to want to pull my arm back. And I might have wondered if maybe there's, I wondered if maybe I want to, but I couldn't, I wasn't aware of any feeling like that. But the way we did this was by an experiment in which I'm laying on my back and there's a person working with me. And I would just move my arm forward and she would push against it. So basically she was taking over the holding back. She's doing it for me. And so then just simply allowing the movement, really, but it's done really slowly. It's not about overpowering. It's about just being really slow and just noticing what comes up. And in this case, the movement wanted to complete itself. And what the movement that wanted to complete itself wasn't that. It wasn't anything aggressive. It was actually an extending a hand out, a reaching out movement. You know, on the audio, you can't see this, but it was extending the hand out with the palm up. And so what was being held back was a desire to reach out.
Wow. That's what was being held back.
That was what was being held back. And then there are, experiences from early life about why that would be something fearful to do. But I don't know any way of getting to that except by, or maybe you could have, but really working through our somatic experience, to borrow a phrase from Freud, it's really like it's the royal road to the unconscious. He applied that to dreams, but we apply it often. It can be to our somatic experience because the body is an intrapersonal communication device. Mm-hmm. Our patterns and our core beliefs are often expressed there, and by working through that expression in certain ways with mindfulness, we can actually get to those kind of beliefs, basic core beliefs. And I mean, I've had people go all the way back to birth experiences with doing those kind of things. So it can be, it's actually really powerful and ever fascinating and delightful.
I love it. I love talking about it. I love just the energy around it, the loving kindness, the nonviolent communication, the healing that takes place, the empowering experiences, and to, again, that creative part where there's, just between the two of us or between a group and all the healing and everything that can take place. I just so glad that you brought Hakomi to us here on the airwaves, Transformation Talk Radio, and getting this information out for people that really are ready to receive this level of healing in their life, right?
Yes. Cool. Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Dennis. So let's take a break on the Cornelia Stephanie Show, and we'll be right back with Dennis Gaither.
Tune in to Knowledge Book Radio with host Marge Potasic each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Through many experiences, Marge was led to the Knowledge Book, a gift to humanity in its transition to the Golden Age, and it provided the truth and the answers. She now shares information from the Knowledge Book with you each week on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit usa.theknowledgebook.net.
Living Lighter Radio with Jason and Patricia. We have an ecosystem approach to your life. Tune in weekly every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as we, Jason and Patricia, discuss what's truly holding you back. We offer you the tools you need to reach your goals and at the same time be living lighter. For more information about living lighter, visit www.livinglighter.org.
TheAngelLady.net. 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 1-800-323-1790. 1-800-323-1790. Sue Storm. TheAngelLady.net.
Learn and explore fascinating and practical uses of essential oils, how to use them, and how they can enhance your everyday life. The Oil Lounge was founded by 3 remarkable women with fascinating stories about how essential oils changed their lives. Tina and Laura from The Karmic Path have joined forces to educate the masses in the benefits of Young Living essential oils. For more information, visit theoillounge.com.
This is Debbie Pokornik with a break-free parenting tip. If you haven't been practicing active listening or are getting into some bad habits, it's a good idea to go back to the basics and remind yourself how to be a good listener. Here's an idea that might help. When your child comes to you with a story about her day, set aside whatever you're doing and give her your full attention. If you're in the middle of something that can't be put aside, tell her that you really want to be able to give her story your full attention and ask if you could continue the conversation at a specific time. So, for example, this sounds like an important story and I'd really like to give it my full attention. Can we talk about it in 10 minutes when supper's in the oven? Active listening might sound like common sense, but often it's these simple skills that get buried in our parenting pack and easily forgotten or overlooked. Challenge yourself to practice this skill for a full week and see if you notice a difference in how much your child is sharing.
For information and to work with Debbie, visit empoweringnrg.com.
We are back, and you're listening to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. We had such a great show. I feel, Dennis and I were talking about it during the break, how nourishing we both feel and the vibration and the energy that we've created with this discussion today. We really hope that you're feeling the love and feeling the nourishment of this information that we shared. So, Dennis, we want to let the audience know about upcoming Hakomi events and, insights on where people can, find out more about Hakomi.
Cool. I'd be happy to do that. So in the Seattle area, I'm part of a group. We've been working together for about 20 years now.
Wow.
Beginning with when we first trained with Ron Kurtz, and then after a 3-year training, then we created the Seattle Hakomi Educational Network. www.seattlehakomi.com. So we really created a sense of purpose together of fostering loving and healing community. And that's really been an underlying theme as we share Hakomi. At this point, we have workshops that go all the way from introductory workshops to professional level trainings. And I'll just tell you a little bit about some of these specific ones. So there's one coming up very soon on the Bastyr campus called Deepening Skills. That's on March 2nd and 3rd, and there may be a couple of spaces still available. That one tends to fill up pretty fast. You can inquire about that on our website. Deepening Skills, we actually do Hakomi sessions. These are coached one-on-one with one of the trainers. There are 4 senior trainers and then 4 also trainers as well. Everybody is very experienced. I think I once added it up, and between all of us, there's about 100 years of cumulative experience doing this work.
Wow, what wisdom.
Yep. And so I think the next local event is called Nourishing Communication. It's in Seattle, March 9th and 10th. And And then we have several of our teachers and trainers doing that one. The next one that I'm actually involved with is called Loving Presence. And we'll be doing that one in Bellingham. My dear friend and teaching partner, Lynn Morrison, and I do these workshops. We've been doing them together for a long time. We have a lot of fun. And Loving Presence, well, we talked about that practice. We actually give it enough importance that we actually do a whole 2-day weekend workshop. For people that are psychotherapists, social workers, massage practitioners, these are all accredited for CEUs. And I would be willing to bet this will be one of the most enjoyable CEUs you've ever gotten. There are no PowerPoints. It's just experiential. We laugh a lot, we play a lot, and we learn a lot. So it's just really is delightful to share that. One of the things that gives me a great deal of joy is just to witness someone's blossoming. And I feel like I get opportunities to do that really often. And a large part of that is because of this work. So I'm very grateful to Ron Kurtz and to Donna Martin also, who was a close associate of Ron's and was also really major Hakomi teacher and my friends at the Seattle Hakomi Educational Network. So love to have you check us out, and maybe we'll cross paths in Hakomi land sometime.
That's wonderful. Dennis, can you give us that name of that website one more time?
Sure. It's just www.seattlehakomi.com. And if you Google Seattle Hakomi, you'll find us. We'll be right there at the top of your page then.
Great. Yeah. You guys have quite a few events coming up, 2 in early March and then 1 in April. So it's a wonderful way to get, like you said, get started or, get a taste of Hakomi.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to let everybody know that if they like this kind of information, I share a lot of my co-hosts' information on my newsletter, on my weekly newsletter. And the way that you can get the newsletter, this is so cool, Dennis. Text the number 228, text the word Cornelia to the number 22828. That's it. Text the word Cornelia to the number 22828, and you get my newsletter. Or you can do it traditionally, and you can go to my website at corneliastephanie.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. And also, while you're there, you might want to take advantage of my Keeper of the Garden course. It's a 21-day audio e-course that assists any person to move into a greater sense of peace, to release and let go of anything that's no longer serving you for 21 days. And it's less than 10 minutes a day. It really helps you in rewriting the story of your life and also letting go of what's no longer serving and grounding in a greater sense of harmony, a greater sense of peace, a greater sense of I am worthy, I am love, I am abundant. It's a beautiful course. And the people that have experienced it are now going through it again the second time. And it's $21. It's $1 a day. It's a beautiful practice every day because, again, it's about how you respond to the events that are happening in your life. And we know there's a lot of change out there. And we need all the tools and all the spiritual practices and all the help that we can get so that we can make this world a better place. I'm so grateful, Dennis, that you said yes to, bringing your theme on here with Hakomi. And then also, we were talking about it during the break that next time we'll probably talk about forgiveness, or we'll talk about the Course in Miracles. Who knows what you're going to come up with, but I know that it's going to be fantastic because you have so much wisdom to share. You have so many skills that you've developed and strengthened over the course of your life, and we're just blessed to have you on. So look forward to it.
Thank you, Cornelia. I feel blessed to be on and to have this opportunity, and you're a blessing as well to basically be supporting so many people sharing their light. There's a generosity and a kindness and a love in that is really moving to me. I appreciate it.
Oh, love you, Dennis. Thank you so much. Do you have any final words for our listeners today?
I don't. I'd love to see you. I'd love to hear from you, and maybe we'll cross paths. It's a delight to share this work. It's really had a huge impact on my life, and I know it's touched a lot of others as well.
Absolutely, it's touched me. It's really made me listen more and experience, a greater level of nourishing. It's softening, and I love that. Yeah. So everybody, stay tuned for the Millionaire Imprint for Women. I'm with Michelle Boss. We're talking about, right after this, we're talking about how to live in financial freedom. So thank you, Dennis. Thank you, everybody. See you next time. Namaste.
Listening to the Cornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Cornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Cornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at corneliastephanie.com.